Hey Choo Choo Dreamer, is the chat working for you? Thanks, I just got your message. I don't know how delayed that was. Today I am preparing fabric for a series of 3 quilts in a pattern that I plan on releasing soon. And the fabric I'm using is Tula Pink fabric, which makes me very excited because she's a very vibrant designer with bold designs. And I love her fabric and I love her quilts, and I've never made anything with her fabric before. So I'm very excited to have all this yardage. And then I also have a pack of 10-inch squares from her latest line. Right now I'm just pressing the fabric so that I get nice cuts out of it. The most pressing thing, fun, is that when fabric comes off the bolt, there's a nice big crease down the middle, and I'm trying to get that out. So using a healthy dose of water and then a steam iron will get that out pretty fast. So you can see I've got this big crease down the middle. So I'm working on getting rid of that primarily, and getting rid of any other wrinkles that might be problematic. And when you're pressing fabric, you're not supposed to move the iron over the fabric. You're supposed to hold it, lift it, move it, put it down again, although I often cheat on that rule, just because it's easier to move it. After I'm done preparing the fabric, I'm going to cut it into squares. And if I have time after that, I need a few other pieces for the background of this design. But the squares I need first. and much more of them. What are you going to be working on today? Alright, I think I... So I think I have the whole crease out of this one. I have one more big yardage to press. I love this color blue. And the print. I love the print. The next question I'll have is, should I starch the fabric or not? What do you think? It takes a long time and makes crisper squares. Although in this case, I won't have any bias edges on my blocks, and I will be trimming the blocks so I don't need precision piecing right off the front. So I might just skip the starching just to save some time and some starch. Look at me cheating with the iron. This fabric's being very nice to me. And a lot of times I can still see the crease even after this procedure, but this one's coming out really nice. On my work surface here, I have a felted wool pressing mat. It helps regulate the steam and protect my work surface. It's kind of smelly, especially when you first get a new one and you heat it with water, with steam and water. It smells like, well, cheap. Well, think my fabric's still a little damp in some spots. So I'm going to go through all these 3 cuts and make sure I get all the damp out before I start cutting them. Part of the problem is my pressing mat is now kind of damp too. Oh well. Well, I think most of it actually got pretty dry. So I can start cutting. So I'm going to remove my pressing mat and put on a cutting mat. Got mats for everything. All right. My rotary cutter, I just put a fresh blade on because fresh blades are great. And then I have some rulers I'll need. So for this pattern, I'm doing a whole bunch of flying geese. And so I'm going to use the 4 at a time flying geese method if anyone knows what that is. If not, doesn't matter. So what I'll need from these background fabrics is squares. And so I'm going to cut 52 5.5-inch squares from each of these fabrics. So the first thing I'm going to do, get rid of this edge. Hi Siren Heist. I just saw your chat now. Thanks for joining us. Feel free to ask any questions or chat with Choo Choo Dreamer. Thanks, sis-in-law. I didn't know who you were. Usernames are hard. So squares doesn't sound like a hard thing to cut, and it's really not at this size, but 52 of them is quite a bit. And that's for each fabric I pressed earlier. So was that 156 squares I need? That's good. I put a new blade on, but it doesn't seem to be working. Probably a bad blade. Oh well. So I'm going to cut these into 5.5 inch strips first. If I need 52, well, if it's 42 inch wide fabric, how many can I get out of a strip? There's math for you. I think it's 7. Not a great rotary cutter, or not a great blade. I might just have to replace this blade. Or I have a different rotary cutter. Maybe this one will work better. Alright, Choo Choo Dreamer says it works out to 7.6, but 0.6 of a square isn't going to do me any good. So we'll say 7. So, how many strips do I need to cut then? If I need 52, that'd be 8 strips. Now, I'm being kind of precise with this, but for this particular construction method, I don't need to be that precise. But good habits are hard to form. So I use this one mostly for paper, so it's not great for. I'm just going to put a new blade on. I need 52 squares, Choo Choo. If I said 58 at one point, oops. So this blade is just covered in machine oil, that's all. So I have no idea if quilt streams are a thing that people are interested in or not. So I'm trying it out. Last week I did one called Quiet Quilting, where it's just more ASMR, where you just watch me and I don't talk. You can just listen to the sounds. And this one I'm trying to chat because I hear people on Twitch like chatting. So I don't know which will work or if both will work. If you want to see the one I did last week, I did put it on YouTube. So, whatever, if you have thoughts or suggestions or opinions, let me know, because I want to make something that people want. Let's see if this blade works any better. Felt better. There. Very nice. So how many strips do I have now? 1, 2, 3, 4. This is my 5th strip. So. I also didn't do a great job pressing this fabric, but again, I don't need very precise squares, because I'll have to square up the blocks at the end anyway, which means once the block is made, I have to trim it down to be the correct size, because the piecing, the way that the piecing works for the 4 at a time flying geese is kind of weird because it's a sew then cut then sew then cut, and so you kind of end up with things that might be a little wonky, but you can square them off. That's 6. My fabric's getting a little off here, so I'm going to just square it up a little. Let's see, normally I'd go around to the other side of the table to do this. Let me try from this side. That's better. Rotary cutter went a little astray. Oh, man. I have no good luck today. Well, I think this is the 8th one I need, right? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. So I'm just gonna, I only need a few squares from this strip. So I'm just gonna ignore that thing that I accidentally cut out and just not take a square from there. No one needs to know. That's 8. So all this extra fabric will be used for other parts of the background, but I'm not going to worry about cutting those today. At least not right now. So I'm supposed to get 7 squares. Well, this is my really wonky one where I cut it wrong, so I'll go with 6 squares. Oops. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I feel like I'm just talking to myself here. I also have no idea how delayed the chat is that when I see it, so. What inspired me to begin quilting? That's a good question, Siren Heist. It's something my grandma always did when I was little. She has a very different style, very traditional, and she likes to hand quilt everything. but I always watched her. She made a lot of quilts. Each one took her about a year to make because hand quilting is very labor intensive. But they were always beautiful, and she would enter them into shows. So I was always kind of around quilts. But since my grandma has a more traditional style, it never really seemed like something I was interested in. But then, because the internet exists, I was exposed to the concept of modern quilting, where big designs, geometric designs, minimalism, all those concepts, and that spoke to me a little more. So I started making a quilt, and I made one for my friend when she graduated med school. That was my first quilt that I finished. And then I said, yep, I could do this. And then I kept doing it. And then I decided I can let myself share it with the world. So I started Instagram and then a website with a blog and a shop. And now I'm trying to stream, see if this speaks to anyone else. So the quilt I'm making today is the quilts. So it's going to be 3 quilts made from this Tula Pink line called True Colors, and they're going to be my Going Somewhere quilt, which I've made a few times, but I haven't yet written a pattern for. So I intend to do that. But I sorted all the fabrics into 3 different concepts. So I have a land quilt, a sea quilt, and a sky quilt. And so those fabrics that I got are actually, I bought 10-inch squares, so they're pre-cuts. And right now I'm cutting the backgrounds. So this is the background of land. And once I get this cut, I can start making flying geese out of the 10-inch square pre-cuts, which are gorgeous, by the way. If you have a browser open, you can look up the line. It's Tula Pink True Colors. And just, if you go down a rabbit hole, you can just look up everything Tula Pink. It's Tulapink. She's an amazing fabric designer and quilt artist. Very bold, very colorful, very interesting concepts in her designs. No love for the Fire Nation. You know what? I need 13 squares for each of these quilts, and the pack only came with 42. I honestly wasn't thinking when I started separating them into 3 piles about land, sea, and sky, but I kept playing with the colors and sorting them out, and this is the concept that came out of that. And I liked it. So the land one, this is the background. It's like it's orange, but you know, it's an earthy kind of orange, maybe. It's Tula Pink, so you're not going to get like actual earth colors. But I'm going to pair it with some of the greens and purples from this set, you know, for like trees and I guess purple mountains. That's what one of my friends told me. It counts as purple mountains. I've mocked up the design, and I think it looks really cool. One of them will have to be the cover for the pattern when I eventually get it written up, and maybe I'll have to do a poll, see which one people like the best. So even just cutting basic squares takes a ton of time. Is anyone else working on a project right now? let's see. I've only cut 3 of those strips so far. Also, this light is really hot. It's just a comment. So if I look sweaty, it's because I am. Ooh, resin. Resin is you can make so many cool things with resin, and I'm always tempted to get resin stuff. But it sounds messy, and you know what? I don't need to spend money on a whole bunch of new crafting stuff. I literally have a room full of crafting stuff. But if I'm ever out there, I want to do a resin project with you. And by if I'm ever out there, I mean next time I'm out there, I'll come out again. I promise. Siren Heist is excited. At some point, I will make definite plans. I know you've got a lot going on in your life right now. It's gonna be a crazy year, I think. I hope. So in addition to quilting, some of the other crafts I do when I talked about my room full of craft stuff. I had a Cricut for Christmas, so that's been fun. And I crochet, although I haven't picked up that in a long time. But I do have a stash of yarn and like 8 projects in various states of not finished. And then I'll try out a few things. I've got some supplies for ice dyeing. My local Quilters Guild is going to do an umbrella making class, so that sounds fun. I'm going to make my own umbrella. Maybe. I have to see when that is and, actually sign up for it. And then pick fabric for it. And then I'll basically dabble here and there. I dabbled this year in leather crafts. And that was a fun adventure, but I think I'm done with the leather. Just not for me. Leather is a finicky material. Well, it's forgiving, but it's also finicky. And there's so many different kinds of leathers that behave in so many different kinds of ways. And you need so many different kinds of tools to do different things. And then I got overwhelmed. And I finished my projects. I made some fanny packs for me and my mom. I made a notebook cover. I made a Kindle case for my dad. And that was enough leather for me. Choo Choo Dreamer is complimenting my fanny packs. They were really cute. My problem was I'm not very great with zippers, so I had some zipper problems with that. I didn't know how to use tape zipper. They were really cute though, and they functioned even in the torrential rain of Hurricane Florida. So I call it a win. Let's see if I tried any other crafts this year. I tried candle making. That'll do again. It's all, besides the materials, all the supplies are just basic kitchen supplies. And you can use whatever jar you have around. Basically all you need that's, not something you probably already have around anyway are wicks, which are easy to buy and store and pretty cheap. And wax and scent. So those aren't that hard. But I don't think I need to make candles all the time. I've noticed I don't really like crafts that involve a lot of wet messes. Things you need to wash out with water and or like solvents or anything. And it's not because I don't like the craft, it's because I don't like the cleanup. That's mostly it. Alright, only one more of these to go, and then I get to move on to another color. Alright, as I cut this one, which background should I work on next? The one for sea or the one for sky? So, just impromptu poll, I guess. Put it in the chat. Now if you're bored because all I've done was the same thing over and over and over again with cutting this fabric, that's basically what quilting is. You move from various stages of doing the same thing over and over and over again. Which is why you might not be interested necessarily in watching me for learning purposes, but perhaps this might be a good type of streaming for like ASMR or people who like background sounds, because it can get really repetitive and but still soothing. These aren't, you know, deafening or distressing sounds generally. When I'm quilting, I usually like to watch TV or listen to an audiobook. The only times I can't really do that is when I have to do math or thinking, design work, stuff like that. Alright, there, a whole bunch of squares. I didn't see anyone vote for sea or sky. At least it didn't show up on my chat yet. So, I'm going to pull up sea. They're all Tula Pink fabrics, but these are not from the True Color line. They're just other ones I found that complement it and are you know, quiet enough for a background fabric. Although that sometimes, like Tula Pink in her own quilt. Oh, good. Siren Heights voted C. That's what I ended up with. So Tula Pink in her own quilts, she follows no rules. She goes nuts. I love it. And she might use a very bold print for a background in all over fabric, but yeah, that's a little much for me personally. All right. You really shouldn't be cutting fabric this way, but here I am doing it. You know, I've seen a lot of quilters do that, where they're like, don't do this, and then they do it right in front of you. Today is really repetitive because I'm doing the same thing for 3 different quilts. Whoosh. And yes, sometimes I make sound effects when I do stuff. It helps. It really helps. In addition to this project, I have a quilt that's in the quilting stage for, it'll be displayed at Quilt Fiesta. That's the Tucson Quilters Guild show. And that's in February. I need to finish that one, but it's taking... I picked a very intense quilting design for that, so it's going to take a while. I also have a quilt that I'm hand quilting, and I have been hand quilting it since like summer. But I want to get that finished so I can write a pattern for it. I think it's really cute. I haven't shared that one at all, so that's still a secret. Well, there's close-ups of it, I think, on Instagram, but no one knows what it is. And then my friend just commissioned a quilt for me for her little baby nephew. And I haven't started that yet, but it's going to be really cute. We picked a traditional star, and it's going to have it's going to be coated like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, so each block represents a note, and each color represents the pitch of the note. So I think that'll be really cute. How many of these do I have now? 5. Alright, 2 more strips, I think, unless I can't count. It's really nice to be able to just do this for an hour. I spend a lot of time quilting, but honestly, this week I spent so much time writing the blog post that was released yesterday, published yesterday, whatever the word is. One more. And so that's fun and valuable, but just being able to sit and quilt is very nice. And make stuff. What I really like about making stuff is at the end of the day or the afternoon or whenever you have time to work on it, most of the time you can really see the progress. It's visual, measurable progress. Makes me feel like I have some control. Did I cut too many of these now? Oh no, I lost count. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oops! Well, hopefully I have enough fabric for the rest of the background, do I? I need 27 inches for the rest of it. Let's see, do I have that? Oops, not quite. Might have to order some more of this. Back to cutting squares. Now what's going on in my head is I'm thinking about if I can maybe fudge it with the fabric I have left. It's possible. I'll have to sit down and do the math. Apart from the squares, the other fabric I need is just kind of in weird random sizes. So I really have to sit down and play with it. Maybe I can get some of those from the piece that I accidentally cut. I haven't seen my chat update. I don't know if something's broken or if you guys are just silent. Either way, that's fine. Well, it's not fine if it's broken. Yeah, talking to myself gets really tedious when it's for an hour. Choo Choo Dreamer asks, what's my favorite project from last year? Well, I made a blog post about that too, so you can find that on my website. Well, I made my top 5. What did I put as top 1? I think my number 1 quilt was the Halloween quilt I made with the candy corns. I liked kind of everything about that quilt. The line of fabric, the collection was Sweet and Spookier from Art Gallery Fabrics. That was the 3rd in a series. So each year they'd been releasing some fabric from the same line. And I love that fabric. It's so cute. It's like about a little girl going trick-or-treating and all the stuff that she gets. And then I just like the block layout. I like the size. It's a nice oversized extra large throw. I love the quilting. I did a spiderweb quilting design on it. And my favorite part was that I kept the quilt for myself and I get to snuggle under it. I put it away because it's not Halloween. I'll get it out next fall, but it's very nice to snuggle under with dogs. And because it's huge. And the Art Gallery Fabrics, that's probably my favorite line of fabrics. They're so soft. They have such nice colors. And I used it on the front and the back of that quilt. You can find pictures on my website or social media of that one. I think that's my favorite make from last year. I think last year I counted, finished like 22 quilt projects, but some of those weren't full-size quilts. They were, smaller projects. That was a lot of projects though. Anywho, about this stream, I didn't actually notify my followers or email list or anything because I'm still kind of beta testing the idea. So I mostly just told close friends, which is why there might be slightly fewer viewers than would be ideal. But I just wanted to see if this was going to be a viable concept and if I need to invest in better equipment or make a better setup or try something different. If you didn't see my quiet quilting stream from last week, I said this, it's on YouTube. So I'm not sure if that format or this format will work better or if I should do both formats. So your feedback will be important. You can either leave it in the chat or just tell me privately if you are my friend and I reached out to you and told you to be here. I was thinking about doing it just for an hour, so I'll go till 11 today, which is in 14 minutes. I guess this is a good way to see how much I can accomplish in an hour. Sometimes I just get distracted and it'll take me a whole day to cut fabric, but that's because I'm doing 18 other things between it. But this is going pretty well. I'm trying to do some new things in 2023. Like keep a regular posting schedule and release schedule and mostly just be consistent. So I'm actually using my iPhone for the camera. Because especially since this is still experimental for me, I'm like, well, I don't need a good webcam because I already have a good camera. It's pretty good for a cell phone camera, I think. Or it's supposed to be. I don't know anything about cameras. Siren Hunt's telling me it takes time to grow a large audience. That I believe. But I also haven't reached out to the audience I already have on other platforms. So I don't know how popular it would be with them. I'm also not sure if this is something that quilters would want to watch or non-quilters would want to watch more. Quilters see this stuff every day because they do it every day. But I've noticed sometimes non-quilters or non-crafters get just mesmerized with the process and enjoy watching it even if they have no intention of ever doing it. So I think this might be a different audience than the one that I currently have on Instagram and my email list, Pinterest. I have one more strip of this sea background to cut, and because I'm running low on fabric because I made too many accidental cuts, I'm going to save as much of it as I can. So I should have 49, so I only need three squares from this. Maybe I can use the leftover of this in some productive way and be less hasty. Alright, I'm going to go set these aside and grab the sky. So if you didn't see it before, this is the sky fabric. This one actually is from the True Colors line. But it's such a pretty blue. All right. Let me do it this way. It worked better. I don't know what's happening to my rotary blades today. They're normally not this bad. I do like this print too. So for the sky version of this quilt, I picked out the pinks and oranges and yellows, you know, the sunset colors. I'm going to set them against this blue, and hopefully it looks like a sky or concept from the sky. The sea quilt is just all the kind of blues and greens. I think they'll go well together. So in the sea quilt, the background doesn't stand out, or it's not contrasting the fabrics of the feature fabrics as much. But I think it'll contrast enough and it will kind of moodier. In this case, this blue is definitely going to contrast with the yellows and pinks. I think it'll be really pretty. You never really know until you get a quilt together. I do use some software to help me get a sense of where quilts are going though. I have Electric Quilt, which is nice for like very basic or very more traditional quilts. If you are using, you know, traditional blocks or traditional components and laying them out in a traditional way, it works. And you can make modern quilts using those traditional techniques. But a lot of times when I'm kind of just thinking, I use Affinity Designer and I just draw shapes until I like it. So Electric Quilt is better when I know exactly where I'm going. Electric Quilt is nice because they make it easy to, well, relatively easy to look at how your fabric's going to look in the quilt. It's possible in Designer. It's just a little more difficult. Usually I can get a rotary blade to last me longer than that. Alright, one more strip of this. That's 8, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, good. I do have 27 inches of this, right? Maybe I just did math poorly to begin with. Let's see. Yeah. Great. So I'll start cutting these into squares. And once these are all cut into squares, all my squares are done. I'll cut 2 strips and then I think we'll call it a day. So if there's any closing words you want to say, now's the time. I had a lot of fun talking to you. It's kind of hard to make stuff and talk at the same time. I think it's a skill I can acquire better. But I already wasted some fabric because I didn't cut my strips before. But it's kind of nice having someone watch. Normally I do this all in privacy and it's a lot of work and sometimes people don't know. This is just cutting fabric. I'll eventually have to sew it back together. Tutu Dreamer asks if I will be streaming the block piecing. That one I probably won't be able to do because piecing these flying geese blocks require going back and forth between the cutting mat and the sewing machine. And I do not have a second camera to do that. I'll decide, I'm hoping to stream every week, deciding whether or not Fridays or Saturdays work better. For me, it doesn't matter. My process for deciding when I'm going to stream has been based on, okay, what do I need to get done, and which is best for viewers. So I need to be able to keep the camera in the same place, have good lighting, that sort of stuff. That's why I'm cutting fabric today. Lots of fabric. One more square, and then I'm going to call that a day. Thank you for joining me today. Share, or subscribe, or like it, or just tell me what you thought. Maybe I'll be doing this again. So, I don't have a send-off. So happy quilting.